turn that on. So good to see you all today. We're going to just briefly talk about a few different things. I'm first going to go through more of the logistics. There's a lot of it, really all of it in the solicitation toolkit as to like how you're going to report on things, how you're going to get things, all of that good stuff. So we're going to go through that so that we all feel confident that we've got that. And as we're going through it, Jean Franco is also going to jump in and give us some reminders about the actual conversation. So all of you have been through the training where we talk a lot about the actual conversation. Mainly, we're talking about all the stuff before it and all the stuff after it today, is what we're looking at with that. This toolkit has been put together by initial draft by partners that gave it to us, and then we did some tweaking internally for our task force. And we're going to go ahead and talk through all of that here. And as we go along, feel free to ask questions. What I'm going to do is share my screen first. Actually, yeah. So hopefully by this point, you have gone through the training and you have enjoyed it, and you are like, man, this is going to be a lot of fun having conversations with people, and you're excited and you're pumped and you're ready to go. And Jean Franco is going to pump us up even more in a little bit. And so I have not heard from any of you in the room that you want to step away from having these conversations. So I am assuming that you are all in and ready to try it out for those first like 2 to 3 conversations, and we can revisit. And again, at any point, if you're like, all right, I'm kind of done let me know. There's zero hard feelings. We just don't want to kind of drag along donors and start asking them to meet and then all of a sudden not following up and not following through with that. So we just want to be mindful of other people's time. And so just let Chelsea or I know, and we can always move things around. For those of you who haven't met Chelsea yet, you can hopefully see her in one of the boxes there. Chelsea, you want to give a wave? There's Chelsea. So she has been working in the office now for, it'll be 3 months, I guess, in 2 weeks. So 2.5 months then, is what math tells me. And so she's going to be our main coordinator for all of the individual donor conversations. So she's going to be intimately involved in reminding you. Hopefully you don't need a lot of reminders because we've got like a dozen plus solicitors, and so it will take her longer and longer and longer if she has to be the squeaky wheel. So if you can keep going through the process without reminders, not only do we get done faster, but here's another secret: it saves us money because we're paying Chelsea to be there. So more money can go to the campaign if you as a volunteer are keeping up with the process yourself, and it's requiring less effort for Chelsea to remind you of what's going on. So let's go ahead and jump into what we've got here. So hopefully you saw that there is a link to this solicitor toolkit that I sent out earlier. And basically a little bit later today or perhaps on Monday, we're trying to get things done. And you may have heard that Holy Week begins on Sunday. So we're trying to juggle all these things, Chelsea and I, but hopefully we will get these things out in the next few days. And you're invited to begin reaching out to people and scheduling those conversations, but don't schedule the conversation to be had until after Easter. So we're just going to focus spiritually on this next week ahead, and then we're going to get into that. So what you're going to get from us is, can everybody see everything that I've got here? You can see this list of resources. And so this is going to be your solicitor dashboard. This has literally every single thing that you ever need for these conversations is going to be here. You don't have it yet, but you're going to get one that's going to be sent to you, and it's going to have your name in front of it. This is only for you. Nobody else has the one that you have. Only you have this one. And Chelsea and I both will have connections to that. So in here, you're going to see all of the items that you're going to need for these conversations. Your solicitor toolkit, your donor tracker, which is actually in another tab at the bottom down here, which we're going to talk through in just a minute. You can think of the tracker not only as like communicating with Chelsea, but it's also like your checklist of the tasks that need to be done leading up to the conversation and after the conversation. We've got reservation spreadsheet, access instructions to get into the church. So this is like Do I have a code to get in? Yes, I do. It's actually right in this document. You have a code. You have instructions on how to get in. You have information about where to find things. You have information about Zoom login. How do I log in? It's in the Zoom login instructions, and the Zoom link is there. We've already created a recurring link for people to have those conversations. If you're like, where's the campaign website? Boom, it's right there. Where's the case statement? Oh my gosh, boom, it's right there. Pledge form, electronic pledge form. Literally everything you need is going to be in this one single list of resources. Now, if you have questions, please, please, please let me or Chelsea or anyone on the task force know, and we will walk you through that a little bit more. So that first item, if you open that up, that's our donor solicitor toolkit. And if you walk through this, you see the table of contents, you've got all the contact informations, cell phone numbers for anyone on the task force, emails. Feel free to reach out if you want some extra support there. Then there's some great background information Partners has given us on how we kind of got here, how we did the matching, the pyramid of gifts. These are all things that we've already talked through in the solicitor training. Now we get into the nuts and bolts, and I know a lot of you have been asking, like, how do I do it? Okay, so this is how you're going to do it. And we literally have made it a step-by-step process so that you don't have to think too much about it. You just go back to this. So the first one in planning the conversation is you're going to get that dashboard from us. And so on this dashboard, not only are you going to have all the information, but you're also going to have this tracker over here. And there you're going to find the 3 people that you're first going to reach out to. So my dashboard is great. I got Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Superman. These are great opportunities for givers for Wicker Park Lutheran Church. You're going to see listed out here phone numbers, emails. I didn't have time to create some fake streets and cities, zips, state. You're going to have all that. Everything that's in the white cells, we are going to provide for you. And then there's going to be this little notes category there. So this is, some of you were kind of talking about like, oh, like, I don't know if I know this person, but I'm going to give you things that I think are public information that nobody will have problems sharing. So like they're on the anti-racism team, or if they live further away, that it's likely going to need to be a Zoom conversation, or any kind of other little tidbits with that, that you can have there. And then there's going to be a column that says ask amount. These are the amounts that Gianfranco and I have vetted. They are good. They are great. That's the exact number that you're going to ask, and it is going to be filled in for you already. And this is part of the reason why everybody's got separate spreadsheets, because we wanted the confidentiality of not everybody knowing who's giving what and how much. Now, these yellow cells, these are all things that you are going to fill in. Now, if you're not a big Google Doc fan, your other option is to email Chelsea, and we're going to be doing all of the emails through giving@wickerparklutheran.org, and that's all the way through this document. So the time that she's spending on this campaign is being billed differently than her office stuff, and so we're going to send it to Giving, and she will be doing a lot of work on it on Mondays and checking regularly throughout the week for other things that are going to be popping up. So once you get this from probably me initially, then you're good to go to start contacting people. And so as you contact people, the first thing to do is to reach out and schedule the visit. You can see a little bit of information about, okay, like how do I do that? We recommend doing email first, and then there down here, email template section at the bottom. At the bottom of this, you can see Partners has provided, and we have tweaked, literal email templates. You can take these things, craft it for your own language, copy and paste, but this has the basics in there, make it kind of fit to personalize your outreach. So then as you go forward with that, after you've sent that, this is where you want to put, and you want to say, okay, 3/22, that's when I sent my email. That's important because based on what you're putting in here, that's how Chelsea's going to follow up with you. So if it's been about a week and you haven't heard back from them, and Chelsea goes in here and she says she sees 3/22 and it's now next week, Good Friday, goes into Saturday, and she doesn't see that you've updated that, she's going to email you and say, hey, it looks like it's been about a week. Have you had a chance to reach out to Mickey Mouse? And if you have, please update it or let me know and I can update it for you. So this is where if you just plug it all in, then she's going to be less on you to kind of keep the conversation moving. Once you've kind of confirmed with them and you've talked back and forth, then you're going to confirm the date, time, and location. like we talked about in the giving, we really prefer, or in the training, we really prefer the in-person meetings, and we prefer them to be held at the church. There are a few exceptions, especially people Zoom. Like, we're not, as I said in the training on Saturday, we're not reimbursing you to fly to DC or Mississippi or Madison, Wisconsin, where we do have donors that some of you will be meeting with. Do Zoom. It's all good in that regard. And so now the question is, so now how do I ensure, and this is the question I'm getting all the time from a bunch of people, is how do I book a time at the church? How do I know it's available? One of the things that the task force really wanted to make sure is that you could have real-time access to how you could book that. And so that's why we've come up with the solicitor reservation tab. This is all open to everyone. So everybody is working in this exact same one. And what you can do is you can book either the sanctuary, which is where a lot of you have had conversations with Gene Franco and I, or in the sanctuary or the library. So we're going to kind of have two different spaces that you can meet, and then of course the Zoom room. So there's instructions on this first sheet here of how you would go in there and you would block it off. You can see that Chelsea has already worked out the first 2 weeks of April and blocked out all the times where we don't have availability in those spaces based on our space use group. And so what you can do is you can go in there and you can write Jason, because I'm meeting with Mickey Mouse. You want to do one time, and it says this on the front page, one 15-minute block before, block off at least an hour, and then one 15-minute block afterwards. And you're just going to put your name in there like that. And now you've reserved the time. If this is confusing, that is okay. You can look at this and you can say, oh, I see that it's open, and you can email Chelsea and she will go in and she will confirm it. If you're doing that step though, you've got to wait for Chelsea to confirm, because other people could be adding things in before she confirmed it. And what we don't want to do is have to go back and forth with donors nonstop, switching things up and them thinking that we aren't on top of our game, right? Because we are on top of our game. We're good. We're great. It's fine. So it's okay to wait until you hear back from Chelsea. And you can even tell them like, hey, I think that date works on my calendar. I'm just confirming with the church. And that's good, right? That keeps information going, and we're all good there. So that's confirming a date, time, and location. And then and I'm going to pause here before we get to part 2 to see if there's any questions. Then there's preparing for the visit. You can rehearse the conversation and keywords before the visit. Partners has listed all that out for below us in the conversation. Do a little research, make sure you're looking at your ask amount, getting all those good details together of the pledge form. And we will have these in the office. We'll have printed pledge forms there. We'll have printed case statements. We'll have the thank you notes that you need. We'll have stamps to send the thank you notes. All of that stuff you can pick up from Chelsea. And so you'll want to talk with her ahead of time, and you can come by and pick them up, or we can leave stacks of them and Chelsea can give you a code to get in so you can pick them up, all that kind of good stuff. We'll work that out as you have your first things. And then 24 hours beforehand, you'll want to confirm your visit. Again, there's a template below in the section. Give them that case statement one more time, and then you can feel confident walking into it. So before we get into the conversation and then the follow-up from it, any questions on this super simple setup as you're getting into scheduling the day of the conversation? You just want to put that down there. So let's say it's going to be 4/2 at 10 a.m. And then, yes, I've reserved the location. And so what this is also going to do for Chelsea is, if you haven't said you've reserved a location, she's going to say, hey, did you need to reserve a location? We want to avoid you walking in, 2 conversations happening, kids running around downstairs, and now you're trying to have a conversation with people. So she's also, if you haven't scheduled a date yet, she's going to follow up with you on that. If you have scheduled a date and it's been a few days past it, she's also going to follow up to see how it was going. Hopefully she doesn't have to do a lot of follow-up, because you're just putting it in here and you're saving her time and us money. So I'm going to pause there. Nora, questions?
Just almost a recommendation or thought as I was thinking through this. I probably am going to look at those open timeframes and block a couple of them off. And then when I go do my first email, rather than asking the donor what time works for you, actually give them those ones that you've already blocked off and be like, hey, do any of these work for you? So rather than just being very open-ended, provide some guidance on recommended times from the very beginning. That would be my only recommendation.
Yeah, that makes sense, Nora. That's good thinking. Of course, you have to play it by ear, because they might say, no, those three are not good for me. So then one thing, if I may add a suggestion, show up a little bit earlier than your guest, because like 15, 20 minutes, right? If you recall, when you came for your own visit, Jason and I were already there. And the reason is because what if something happened and you need to find another spot, another place, so you have a little bit of time. So give yourself a little net, 15, 20 minutes in advance.
Perfect. And that leads right into that setup for the conversation day. Any other questions on the early stuff? It's really easy. Emails, scheduling, get it on the calendar, good to go. So then these are all those reminders, that important thing that Gianfranco just mentioned about making sure that you're there ahead of time, 15, 20 minutes, thinking about where the space is. If you notice with Gianfranco and I, there was always 2 chairs plus us 2, right? Even if only one person's coming, right? You just kind of want to balance that out, make it feel inviting, right? There is, in the access instructions for the church, there's a map. You can find the dish room. I think you all know where that is. Grab a mug, have a mug of water already ready to go for the people, or offer to give them one, and you can kind of get that in there. You can make sure then that you meet them at the door, right? So if you're going to be in the library, you can say, let's meet at the side door on Lemoyne at that time. And you can be there right away. You might even, now that the weather's nice, you might stand outside and wait for them there, right? And greet them. If you're in the sanctuary, make sure that when you're giving them that reminder email that you're telling them where to meet you, which door, right? Is it the right-hand set of double doors near the fellowship hall? Is it the side door on Lemoyne Street? Make sure you're giving that some information. So these are just some reminders, right? We don't need it to be longer than 35 minutes. And then make sure you have those things ready, the case statement, the pledge form, especially if you're in person to give those away. And then this kind of goes through some of the conversation, thanking them. Bridget talked about the 75-25 rule. We've given you some suggestions on initial icebreakers, but I mean, you're just having a conversation. This, right? Just like you're talking to people. As you're going through there, the one big thing that partners called out here, and I think is really good, if you can't answer a question, don't make it up. That makes it so much harder for us. It's better just to say, I don't know, but I will find out for you. And you've even seen me do that and others do that as we're teaching Bible study. We don't think that we know everything about the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures, but you know what? We can find out those answers for you, or maybe come back with more questions than answers. But we're going to have an actual answer for the stuff for the campaign. Then we get into the actual ask, which we talked about, and there's suggested language here from partners about how to say that, about that kind of going back, and maybe if they were like, oh, I'm thinking about a little lower amount, we can go a little higher, and then getting into the pledge details, talking about the timing of their gift, how it's over a 3-year time period. But we also would really like to have a deposit up front, right? To kind of help the project keep moving forward. Talks about the giving options, which are all listed at the bottom of that pledge form, right? But this goes in a little bit more detail from partners there. And then some, special scenarios. What if they want to direct it just towards the stained glass window or just towards a brand new family bathroom toilet or whatever it might be. And then any like non-monetary gift stuff. So
There's one thing, I'm sorry, Jason,
yes,
if I may.
and I'm turning it over to you now, Gianfranco, to talk
Oh,
about this more.
perfect. So just, I noticed here, I missed it. I apologize. What if they want to give non-monetary gift? For instance, I have a car, I'm going to donate you the car, right? Or I have a painting, I want to donate you I have a horse, I mean, all these things that happen to me. So what you say is, thank you, always thank you, sell the darn horse, sell it, sell the car, sell the painting, and give us the money. You know, you don't want to end up that we have horses and ugly cars and, you know, junk, and then we have to sell it. So that would, so ask them to take care of that. One thing's about the stocks, this is more for Jason maybe and Chelsea. If we receive gift in stocks, it's good custom to sell the stocks within 24 hours to
Yeah.
make sure you don't want to speculate. We don't want to speculate, right? Let's keep the stocks and see if we can make a couple of bucks more. So it's within 24 hours. So look, guys, first of all, it's good to see you after a couple of weeks that we were in absentia, as the intelligent people says, which means somewhere else. And I want to thank you for trying to do these things. You, almost everybody went through this already, okay? And you know that, except I think, Tom, probably you're the only one that didn't go there, at least with me. So, and Catherine, of course. But I know you, Catherine. I mean, so the thing is, look, this is not difficult things. Jason, with his usual perfection and details, you know, gave us all the information. We're trying to offer all the information that are possible. But at the end of the day, really, these things end up to be a conversation with somebody that, like yourself, care about his place, right? Make it yours, the conversation. I'm going to get into that. Make it yours. We give you ideas. You know, you saw when Jason and I did it with you guys, there was just a conversation. We end up talking about, I learned more about you people. And that was always certainly very interesting, you know, for me. But the key thing is, I would advise you at the beginning to try it out with somebody. You know, Nora, with your partners, you know, the day before you do it, just role model, you know, just try it. This is one of those things that really, you know, experience and repetition helps. Okay. And so the hardest things will be when you're going to ask for money. That is usually the hardest thing. Find something simple to say. If you recall, when I did it, was I would like for you to consider a gift in the region of. There are 7, 8 words. It's very simple. They become part of my DNA. If they do, you know, DNA on Gianfranco, they will find some gene with those words printed there. Find something that, you know, is easy for you. It doesn't have to be what I say. And the important thing is then drop it. Don't keep adding words to it. It muds the waters. It makes it. So just say it and then wait. And you see the answer. Less is more in this case, okay? The other things that you will be given a number, like Jason told us, an amount, add them a little bit. Many of you fell for this, which I'm glad, because so we made more money for the project, right? So if your number is 7,500, don't go wild and ask for $1 million. If your number is 7,500, ask for 10,000, you know, because we can get a couple of $1,000 here, a couple of thousand, you know, at the end of the project is $100,000 more than we have. The other things you need to remember, and by the way, we are not in vacation in Middle Eastern countries where you go into the, you know, the souk and you're trying to bargain with the person, right? It's not that. So you ask a little bit more, they say it's a little bit more than I thought. But I remember, just a reminder, that silence is so important. Nora, I'm not divulging any secrets, don't worry, but I use you as an example, my friend Nora. You almost talked yourself in giving you more. Remember that? Because the silence. You know, we ask an amount and she started thinking and she ended up with a bigger number. So that silence is important. But it's not, you know, some sort of cheap negotiation here. So if they say something, you stick and respect, obviously. And don't forget to mention that it's over 3 years. A lot of people make that mistake, you know, at the volunteer levels, of course. That folks feels that It's $10,000. Oh my God, I have to give you $10,000 at once. No, you want to tell them that it's over. So specifically say over a period of 3 years. Okay, so the pledging period is 3 years. It's really, really important because we get more money if we do that. And then once they said at some point in the kit, I remember reading something that's very important to me, that this is not transactional things. So they say, yes, $10,000. Great, thank you. Now, next, get out of here. You don't want to do that. Obviously, you keep talking with them, for a little bit, and and switch the subject. Don't, start talking about something else. If there is, now you might meet with extremely shy people. You might meet somebody that is an introvert, and so it's hard to have conversation with them. It is very hard, but you have a safety net. You have something that's common to everybody, which is you belong to the same church. That's, if you need to have a conversation with somebody and it's hard to talk about the growth of artichoke in Lebanon. Okay, so because it's an hard subject to talk with somebody that you don't know that well, go back to the church, What do you think about the windows? I always crack the joke, I did a couple of times. There is one window in your beautiful sanctuary that doesn't belong with the other windows, So in other words, I don't know if you haven't noticed that. You should have noticed because you go there every Sunday. But seriously, trying to make it simple, talk to their art, share your experience. That could be another icebreaker. I know this is very uncomfortable for you, you say, but look, a month ago, I was in your seat and I went through that, and so it makes them feel a sense of, that you understand them, and that you went through that, and so I think it's very important. And then, of course, make sure that one thing I'm always concerned in this phase is to put down the pledging period of 3 years on all the spreadsheet that Jason and Chelsea are giving us, because then next year, Chelsea or Jason or who's going to do it has to go back and remind people that the second payment is due. So it's important that it is, mark it down, that we know it's going to be there. But I know you will do very well. You will get a list. Let's start. My suggestion is start from the lower amount, because let's say if you have to screw up, it's better you screw up with $1,000 than you screw up with $10,000, right? So, but it's impossible to screw up on things like that, because what's going to happen? What is the worst thing? Nothing. We will get back to these people. Nobody will escape this, so it's a fact. Sometimes folks are telling you that this year is not a good year. Okay, one thing that I do when I see a little bit of hesitancy, and I did with some of you, I don't remember who right now, but some of you, is let's say they're $10,000 and you feel that they want to do it or not, they're on the edge. Say, if it's convenient for you, you can give a lower amount this year and maybe, right, in the second and third year of the pledging period. Take off pressure of folks. At the end of the day, we get the same amount of money. But, maybe somebody is planning to buy a car or a house this year, so they need a little bit more cash. That kind of stuff. The other things, you do have my phone number and my email address. Call me anytime. I'm in it. And say, Gianfranco, tomorrow morning I have my first one. I'm panicking. My palms are sweating. My mouth is dry. I have palpitation. Talk to me. I will tell you something stupid to make you maybe laugh, and it will be great. So, but any questions, any comments that you have, just, please, we're here, with you guys. And remember what's happened to you. Remember when you went there and all that, when you did it and you realized that, and you probably were more worried at the beginning than when you were at the end, right? Any question? Yes, Catherine, yes.
I was just going to say, be prepared for the introvert, but also be prepared for the extrovert who you need to redirect to the gift conversation. So just figure out what that interjection is going to be. I really want to respect your time this morning. And, you know, I want to make sure we have time to talk about, you know, this campaign and you being a part of it. So just prepare for that, you know, as well.
Right. Thank you, Catherine. It's absolutely correct. So there is the person who start telling you a vacation that they did like 20 years ago that you couldn't care less, quite frankly. Nobody cares about that anymore. You know, but you want to listen. So, oh, that's a great story. However, like Catherine said, you know, we are, you know, we want to be mindful of your time and that kind. And trying to keep the whole thing between 30 minutes and 45 minutes, because at some point it become, you know, remember, when we did it with you guys, we kept you around half an hour. So that's, and not start looking at the watch, you know, that's, try not to do that. It is not difficult. It is really, this is it's the easiest part. Everything we did so far is the most complicated part. This is the easiest part. You got questions or comments? It doesn't seem like. So you ready? I don't know if Jason, you guys have decided to do a little blessing before.
We've already done it. We did it 2
Oh,
weeks ago.
oh, good.
Yeah.
In front of everybody. Good. Excellent.
Everybody
So,
still has their stone, hopefully, with the fish on it. And you can put that in your pocket and you can bring that with and know that you're not alone, that we, as a whole school of fish at the church, are all here behind you. And we will add Gianfranco's contact information to that the top box, and we'll include his cell phone number so you can take him up on his offer here as well. One of the last things I want to talk about is, now that we've prepared for the conversation and we've had the conversation, how are we going to follow up and report on that conversation? So unless there's any other questions about the first two parts, let's jump into that last part, and then we'll have some few final comments before we log off. All right, cool. So then we've got our final little follow-up checklist. So the first thing is send just a quick post-meeting thank you email. Again, there's an example below. Attach that form electronically and the PDF version. And then, this is really important, report to us how the conversation went. So you can, again, with all of these things, you could just email Chelsea directly if you want, or you can put it in here. So likely gift amount based on the conversation. So where you kind of left it, right? Because they'll complete the pledge form and give that to the church. And so, but where did that conversation kind of land, so that we have an idea of that? Notes from it: is this over 3 years? Is this over 1 year? Is this, you know, is there possibly an employer match that we should follow up about? They can always, we had one conversation just this last weekend, Bridget and I, where the individual was able to get an employer match, but not to a religious organization. So we talked about Wicker Park Lutheran Building Friends, and we have a separate 501c and 501c3 kind of in progress, but it's ready to take on money. We've got all the approvals, all of that stuff. And so that's where we can work that employer match if you can't do a religious kind of gift to get that match. So talk with them about that. You can let us know, like, oh, there's a possible match here. They need some more information. We can also work all that stuff out as well. Then you'll put in here kind of the date that the post-meeting thank you was sent with that. And then if it's been about a week and we haven't heard from them, then we want to follow up with them about the pledge form and just remind them, here's the electronic link, here's and so what we will do is this column right here, Chelsea will update. And each week that she checks it after you've done it, she's going to put the data. She's going to say, so if you had it on today, next week, when she goes in and she double checks it, she's going to put a no and the date, so that, you know, as of that date, we had not gotten the form. And she's going to flag it for you and say, hey, we still haven't gotten the form for this person. Can you reach out and just do a quick follow-up? And then you can reach out. And as soon as she puts in there, as soon as we get it, she's going to put yes. And then you can write your handwritten thank you note. Again, we're providing stamps. You have the address already in the document here. And as soon as you send that handwritten thank you, then your process here is done. But now you've gotten to know somebody more deeply. You've built deeper connections. And so continue to, you know, one of the things, and I said this at least to one of the trainings, the thing that I hear most since 2020 is what people in this congregation want is they want to build deeper relationships with people in the congregation. And you're doing that through these conversations. Yes,
True.
there is that moment of like, we're building something together and we're building it up and we're supportive, but you're also getting to know somebody new and connecting with them in a deeper way. So utilize this also as that experience as well, and not just something that's for the capital campaign. So with that, any other questions about those final little logistics there? Let us know if you need things along the way. If you need help, you can also check in with Chelsea. Keep an eye out for that spreadsheet coming soon. And unless there are any other questions, Gianfranco, any last statements as before we
Just,
go?
guys, you are doing something wonderful. Really, it is something wonderful, and I want to thank you because really you have been so. Why I thank you is because it makes me happy to see people they're trying to do something so good, which you are improving the building. So many people are gonna receive the same joy that you do every time that you cross the threshold. Yeah, I like to say that I love my job because I think I'm doing God's work, restoring the house of God. There is a way of doing it. Jason's way is doing it, right? And then there is this. This is another way. Running a ministry, being a volunteer is the other way. So it's really, really important. Never forget that. And that will be a success, and there's no problem. So enjoy Easter, the Holy Week. Think about that. Like Jason says, more important than any gift. That is a gift, the Holy Week. So I can't wait to be back. I will be back in April. So I hope to see some of you guys. And that's it. Let's go. Let's make each other happy and let's make each other rich for the building. Right?
Yeah, this is great. And if you saw Kathy's comment in the chat, yes, so as soon as you get the spreadsheet, you may go ahead and send that initial email. Just don't offer any dates until after we get through Easter. And so
That will be it.
that is it. It's not
All
hard.
right.
Actually a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with these conversations, and I hope that you will also share in that joy and that fun and that connection, and also knowing that we're helping to build something. I mean, remember, we're creating a place for all, a place that we can welcome people of greater diversity than we currently can allow in the building, and serve the community even better. So just remember the focus that we're going out there to
The
do.
campaign, right, the campaign is just the beginning. The campaign will be truly successful, not only if we all raise the money, but if then there is the day after, the campaign, which is stronger community, better sense of philanthropic generosity, all the other things, better connections. That's when a campaign is really successful. I really believe that. All right.
All right. Any last questions? No, you can always email, call.
Right.
Otherwise, have a lovely rest of your Friday, and hopefully I'll see many of you on Sunday as we begin.
Everybody, it's Palm Sunday. Yes, no excuses. We need a doctor note if you don't show up. I'm
And
kidding.
you'll submit it to Gianfranco. He will approve or disapprove of what you have
I'm
submitted.
kidding. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.